Today's speaker and Juniata's first Nobel laureate, William Daniel Phillips. It is not often that a college president can say, "Here is a graduate that changed the world." But in fact, in the world of physics, Bill Phillips has done just that. Dr. Phillips was jointly awarded the 1997 Nobel Prize for Physics with scientists Stephen Chu, Claude Cohen-Tannoudji. The researchers were honored for their work in developing the methods to cool and trap atoms with laser light. Dr. Phillips was born in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania in 1948. He was raised in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. He graduated from Juniata summa cum laude with a bachelor degree in science, especially in physics, in 1970. Dr. Phillips earned his PhD from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1976. Currently serves as a leader of the Laser Cooling and Trapping Group in the Atomic Physics Division of the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Gaithersburg, Maryland. In a few minutes, you'll hear more about his current activities. In 1998, Dr. Phillips received the Juniata College Alumni Achievement Award for his outstanding contribution to science. The Alumni Association citation for Mr. Phillips's citation noted his achievements and the worldwide acclaim that they have received underscore the value of a liberal arts education and enhance the reputation of his alma mater. The title of Dr. Phillips' address will be Three Wishes. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. William Daniel Phillips.
Chairman Kramer, President Keppel, trustees, honored guests, family, friends, and Juniatians. I'm honored to be asked to speak here today at my alma mater, and I'm very pleased to be able to congratulate the Juniata class of 1999 and all of those who have helped to bring you to this commencement. When President Keppel asked me to accept an honorary degree today, I agreed enthusiastically. When he asked me to give the commencement address, I was less enthusiastic. Speaking to a class graduating from my own college, the college from which my father and mother, my aunt, my sister, and my brother graduated, a college that has had such a profound influence on my professional and personal life, is, to say the least, daunting. John and Peggy Over have a daughter, Kristen Over, who is graduating with you today. Somehow, this makes me feel rather old and rather far away from my student days, but at the same time, it makes me feel connected to you and your Juniata experience in spite of all the time that has passed and all the changes that have taken place since I graduated almost 30 years ago. What should I tell you today? I've heard a lot of commencement addresses, and I remember little of any of them. And I'm fairly confident that you would soon forget any gems of wisdom or sage advice that I might offer, as I have forgotten all of those earnest commencement speeches that I have heard. And besides, the sunscreen speech gives some pretty good advice, and you can download it from the web or get it on CD anytime you want. And so instead of giving advice, I'm going to tell you a few stories, remind you of some things you already know, and wish for you 3 wishes. The first story comes from a time just a few weeks after I came to Juniata as a freshman. My roommate, Clark Lance, and I had walked into town on a bright Saturday afternoon, and we were returning along Mifflin Street when we encountered 2 young boys, 5 or 6 years of age, darting from tree to bush to porch, playing at hiding and adventure. And as Clark and I approached them, we heard one cry excitedly to the other, "Look out, here come 2 men." Clark turned to me and said, "Did you hear that, Bill? We're men." Well, in the fall of 1966, 17 years old, we didn't feel much like men. By May of 1970, we did. Not that I believe that it was Juniata that had made me a man. 4 years of living will do a pretty good job of that to a 17-year-old boy almost anywhere. Rather, Juniata had made me a mensch, a human being in the spiritual and not just in the biological sense. And probably many of you have experienced something similar. You came to Juniata as boys and girls of various degrees of maturity, and you are leaving with a sense of having grown more than just 4 years older. For you, as for everyone who goes to college, this has happened in a lot of ways, large and small. Through classes and professors who opened new areas of knowledge for you, through friendships that deepened your appreciation for the value of relationships and gave a gift that will last a lifetime. Through late-night dorm room discussions exploring the problems of society, the mysteries of the universe, the meaning of life, or the joys of romance. Through successes and disappointments, loves and infatuations, confusion and conclusions. But the difference between what you have experienced and what most college students experience is that you enjoyed and suffered these events of life in a community that deeply values its members, that has at its core an ethos valuing education over training, inner substance over outer appearance, caring for others over concern for self, faith along with knowledge. Juniata College is an excellent academic institution, but many schools can make that same claim. Very few have the spiritual strength to match that intellectual strength. You have been privileged to come of age in a very special environment. And I believe, like most Juniatians, you will not realize how special it has been until you learn a little more and grow up a little more. Your Juniata experience is now an integral part of your being, whether you realize it now or not. You are leaving something very solid behind for Juniata. You are taking something equally solid with you. Now let me make my 3 wishes for you. With each wish comes another story. One of the stories is from before the time I came to Juniata. One of the stories is from long after I left Juniata, and one of the stories is, again, from the time that I spent here. When I was in high school, I spent a summer working in a university research lab. The graduate student who mentored me shared this insight with me. He said, physicists are people who get paid for working at their hobby. For me, that has been a joyous truth. Physicists don't get paid much, but we sure have a lot of fun. And so my first wish for you is this, that whatever you do, you will work at something you love. In 1997, after the announcement of the Nobel Prizes, my wife and I were showered with letters and other messages from family and friends and colleagues, some of whom we hadn't seen in years. Among the sweetest things about the Nobel Prize is how it has reconnected us with old friends. However, one of the letters came from a stranger, and it came not to my wife and I, but to our daughters, from a woman who had read in the newspaper about the circumstances surrounding our receiving the news about the Nobel Prize. And she described in the letter how in 1950, as a girl of 18, she, like one of our daughters, had been away at school when the news came that her father had received the Nobel Prize. And just as I had been, her father was far away from home at a conference. And In 1950, transatlantic telephone calls were not a usual thing, so she sent a cable to her father, congratulating him, and soon he cabled back to her. The cable said, "I'm prouder of you, my darling, than of any prize." My second wish for you is that you will live in the company of family and friends whom you love and care for, and who love and care for you, for they are life's greatest treasure. My last story comes from my freshman year. I had become friends with my physics lab instructor, John Long, a physics major just 1 year ahead of me, who came from that Church of the Brethren tradition that has so effectively nourished the core of Juniata College. Once a week, one of the eateries in bustling downtown Huntington offered an all-you-can-eat spaghetti dinner for 99 cents. That was a good price even back then. And John and I would sometimes seek a change from cafeteria food, and believe me, back then cafeteria food was not what it is now. And I understand some of you don't feel that it's all that wonderful even today. But for us, it was a real treat to experience something different, and for 99 cents we couldn't pass up an all-you-can-eat meal. So sometimes we would walk down into town to partake of this feast. And we were walking down one evening, and we were approached by an old, seedy-looking man who asked if we could spare some change. I told the panhandler that I had nothing to spare. In fact, what I said exactly was that I only had enough for myself. It's interesting how that statement is almost always true and almost always a lie. In any case, John reacted differently. He dug into his pocket and gave the man a few coins. And as we continued on our way, I reproached John for his well-meaning but foolish gesture. I assured him that his contribution would just go toward cheap wine and the further degradation of the bum's life. John admitted that maybe I was right, and we walked on to the restaurant, paid our 99 cents, and started filling up on spaghetti. After we had been at it a little while, the old man walked in. He had finally scraped together 99 cents, and he had come for spaghetti. It didn't happen all at once, but that experience changed me. Not everyone gets to work and live in love. And my third wish for you is that when the opportunity arises, you will be able to care for those who are less fortunate. 3 wishes, the stuff of fairy tales. But life is not a fairy tale. And whether my wishes for you come true is largely a matter for you to choose. May you do what you love. May you surround yourself with love. May you spread the love around. Not everyone can choose to make wishes come true. You are Juniatians. You can.
Mr. President, as I present Dr. William Phillips for an honorary degree, I ask Dr. Wilfred G. Norris to read the citation for Dr. Phillips.
Mr. President, a little less than 400 years ago, Galileo Galilei rendered visible to his world things about the cosmos which had been invisible. Today, By working with new instruments perfected by himself, William Daniel Phillips has also made visible phenomena in the microcosmic world of atoms which have never been observed before. As Galileo used light coming from great distances to find new bodies in the heavens, William Phillips used light to slow moving atoms to the point that they exhibited behavior never before seen. A native of Pennsylvania, William Phillips came to Juniata College during the politically turbulent 1960s and distinguished himself not only as a student of physics, but also as a campus leader who could bring reason and calmness in a time of upheaval. He moved on to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he completed his doctoral research with Daniel Kleppner, who himself had been educated by a line of Nobel Prize winning physicists. Taking a position at the National Bureau of Standards, later known as the National Institute of Standards and Technology, William Phillips immersed himself in work that, although ultimately applicable to the development of modern standards of measurement, nevertheless reached into the most fundamental quantum properties of atomic behavior. He led his research team into discoveries which included the cooling of an atom to unexpectedly low temperatures. The technique he developed led others to the creation of the first Bose-Einstein condensate, a result predicted by theory but never before achievable. His research has led him to see the diffraction of light by an optical lattice and to measure directly the force between atoms nearly at rest relative to each other. One of his most exciting recent projects has been the construction of a laser which uses the matter waves of atoms rather than waves of light. For his researches, he has been widely recognized. Among his many honors are the receipt of both the silver and gold medals of the United States Department of Commerce, the Michelson Medal of the Franklin Institute, the Arthur L. Shallow Prize in Laser Science from the American Physical Society, and the Juniata College Alumni Achievement Award. He has been elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and to the National Academy of Sciences as a fellow. He was the co-winner of the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1997. As was Galileo, William Phillips is a pioneer in the observation of the unexpected, in the development of a tool which opens vast possibilities for research. And like Galileo, William Phillips stands in awe of the majesty of the natural world. At the same time, he is an enthusiastic ambassador of science, a campaigner against scientific ignorance and misinterpretation, a teacher devoted to students wherever he meets them, a loving family man, and a Christian gentleman. Mr. President, in recognition of his life of achievement, I have the honor and pleasure to present to you Dr. William Daniel Phillips, graduate of Juniata College, eminent physicist, teacher, and person of humility and humanity, as a candidate for the honorary degree Doctor of Science.
William Phillips, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Juniata College, and upon them by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I now confer upon you the degree Doctor of Science, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereto pertaining.
Juniata has meant a great deal to me and to my family. I feel very, very honored. Thank you very much.